So, folks, a couple of things that could separate your portfolio site from the normal portfolio site is to use something called service workers. Now, you may ignore this. You may do it later after the semester because there's not much time between now and when your assignments due, your final project. But what a service worker can do is cache a page and cache elements in that page. And if there is no internet at all, it can actually put a message out that you want to put out. So I want to give you a couple demos and introduce you to it. You may like it. So like right now, if I turn off my internet, all right, generally we do something like this. We can hit this and we get this little guy, our little, this is a service worker. It occurs because right now I have zero internet. Okay. Now I'm going to go open this up again. And I want to show you a couple examples first of awesome service workers, things that you can do similar to a 404 page. It's pretty easy to do. It takes a little bit of practice with it and kind of understanding what's happening. But this article right here from Dean Hume is quite good if you want to get into it. And he goes into the service workers and actually gives you the source code. So what he does is create service workers. And right here you can kind of take a look at his code. We can view this in the raw to get a good look. And it basically says if there's a service worker in the navigator. So each web page in JavaScript has a navigator object. And if service worker is a property of that navigator, then we can register a JavaScript. And here's a callback then and a function which tells me that the service worker registration was successful, and it actually shows the scope. Otherwise, it logs, what the problem is. So if it's pretty much supported throughout. In fact, if I do caniuse.com, Chrome's a great way to do this. But let me just do service. Helps if I spell, right? So service workers here. And you look, the green is a go. IE is a little bit off. Edge works. Pretty much all the modern browsers support it, which is really good news for us because we can be at the cutting edge of utilizing these. If you use Facebook Inline and allow notifications, that's what a service worker is. It basically works in the background and can control the browser so it notifies you. I'm going to show you an example real quick. This is theguardian.com, and this is no longer up, but as of a couple years ago, this is a service worker. Where if you were on the web page and you hit refresh, I'm sorry about the quality here, but you can turn off the Wi-Fi and then refresh the Guardian, and what you'll see is, hopefully, if I have fully working internet here, irony right there, but if we click on this and we go to this page, so the page loads, again we turn off the internet, we'll let it run. And when we refresh, it checks to see the internet connection, and it says unable to connect to the internet. In the meantime, how about a quick crossword? So the bottom is done in React, the crossword itself, but we can create and load new pages based on whether there's no internet, or we can just cache elements. So beautiful thing here. So if we go back to Dean, this was the first line of code that we were looking at. Actually, we'll go to this right here is what we just looked at. And basically what he's done is to create an offline page that loads when the status is offline. So basically, if the offline property is this and it has a cache, we can create a variable that equals the page. And his page is offline page.html. Then he has an add event listener, and when the cache installs, we can basically run the cache and create it for the offline situation. So he goes in depth on this and actually gives you the source code from his GitHub account. Here's a fetch event, and basically fetch is the same thing as Ajax. It grabs any kind of asynchronous URL. So in this case, he's returning a match of the offline URL and basically running it. So this is the if it's navigate and the request method is get and headers are accept, we can respond with this. So this is the code that runs when we want to load that cached file. So I know it gets confusing, but if you use his code, you can actually create an offline page for your client, for your your viewers on your portfolio page. And then think of how great you'd look. You could write something on the portfolio page that says, hey, if there's no internet connection, try this. Test the internet connection and just load your work anyway as offline pages. So he's got the demo page on GitHub, and you see it says, nice, you are currently online. Well, if we turn this off and hit refresh, actually we can run, it thinks we're offline. But let me show you where the data is, and I'll make sure that it's functioning. So these are service workers, and this is Dean Hume, GitHub, service worker online, and it's activated and running. This is the value, and you can actually push a notification, or you can sync other things from DevTools. We can update or unregister this, but let's watch this. If I hit this in empty cache, and I run with it, hit refresh again, it should work. There it is. Boo, you don't have an internet connection. But please check your network connection and try again. Now this could be your portfolio work. And that's strictly based on the source right here, which is serviceworker.js. So we can open this in a new panel, and we can actually look at it and see the values of it. And this is that page, serviceworker.js. So he's with that offline SVG. So anyway, there's a few ways to pull this off. And Dean is probably the best. If you look at my article here, the article for service workers, you can actually, here you go, this beautiful thing. You can actually go in and copy his source code and then replace his pages with your own pages and then talk about it. So, because it's a really cutting edge technology. And I introduced it this week because we did the 404 pages. So think about not found. Not found is cool enough, but if you have a reaction to a lack of internet, that's even better. So enjoy this. In no way are you required to do this. Think about it, get it in your mind. It's a path for future learning, just the way you should be learning React and Angular and these new frameworks and technologies.